Scary telling.
I had always heard about the abandoned building on the outskirts of town, but I had never actually seen it for myself. The rumors that circulated about it were enough to give me chills, and the fact that it was located outside of the town's borders only added to the mystery. But on that night, I found myself standing outside of the building, staring up at its dark, foreboding facade. I wasn't alone, of course. My friends had convinced me to come with them on their adventure, and the thrill of breaking the town's curfew was too tempting to resist. We had snuck out of our homes under the cover of darkness, and now we stood in front of the building, trying to steel ourselves for what lay ahead. The air was thick with a musty smell, and the silence of the night was only punctuated by the sound of our breathing. As we approached the door, the sense of unease began to settle in. The door creaked as we pushed it open, revealing a dark, musty interior. We hesitated, unsure of what to do next, but the thrill of the adventure overtook our fear. We stepped inside, and the door slammed shut behind us, trapping us inside. The darkness was overwhelming, and we fumbled around, trying to find a light switch or a source of illumination. Our footsteps echoed through the hallways, and the sense of dread was palpable. I could feel my heart racing in my chest as we made our way through the building, the tension and fear mounting with every step. We explored every nook and cranny, trying to find something interesting or exciting. We opened doors and peered into rooms, but everything seemed to be empty and abandoned. We were about to give up and leave when we stumbled upon a stairway that led to the upper floors. We ascended the stairs, and the sense of anticipation grew with each step. Finally, we reached the top floor, and the sight that greeted us was like nothing I had ever seen before. The room was filled with strange, twisted sculptures, their forms grotesque and otherworldly. The walls were adorned with strange symbols and cryptic messages, and the air was thick with a palpable sense of foreboding. We stood there in stunned silence, unsure of what to do next. Suddenly, the silence was shattered by the sound of footsteps echoing through the hallway. We froze, unsure of what to do, and then we heard a faint clicking sound, like metal wires moving. And then we saw them, the Smilers. Their faces were twisted into wide, toothy grins, and their eyes were forced open with taut metal wire. They were unlike anything I had ever seen before, their grotesque appearance sending chills down my spine. We tried to run, but the door had been locked from the outside, trapping us inside with the Smilers. We huddled together, paralyzed with fear, as they approached us, their metal wire mouths agape. The rest of that night is a blur to me, a nightmare that I can't seem to shake. All I remember is the sound of their laughter, the feel of their cold hands, and the sight of their twisted, broken faces. I never thought I would make it out alive, but somehow, I did. And yet, even now, I can't shake the feeling that they're still out there, waiting for me. The door had slammed shut behind us, and we were trapped in the abandoned building with the Smilers. The sense of unease had now turned into pure terror, and we could feel our hearts racing as we tried to find a way out. We stumbled around in the darkness, trying to find a light switch or a door that would lead us to safety. But every door we tried was locked, and the windows were too high to reach. We were completely cut off from the outside world, and the Smilers were closing in on us. Their footsteps echoed through the hallway, and we could hear the sound of their laughter, a low, menacing chuckle that sent chills down our spines. We tried to call for help, but our phones had no signal. We were alone, trapped in the darkness with no way out. The building was old and musty, and the smell of decay filled our nostrils. Every creak of the floorboards seemed to be amplified, and the silence of the night was only punctuated by the sound of our breathing. As we made our way through the building, we could feel the tension and fear mounting with every step. We knew that the Smilers were watching us, waiting to strike. The sense of dread was palpable, and we could feel it settling in our bones. We tried to find a way out, but every door seemed to be locked. The windows were too high to reach, and the walls were too thick to break through. We were trapped, completely cut off from the outside world. The Smilers were closing in on us, their metal wire mouths agape. Their twisted, broken faces were the stuff of nightmares, and we could feel our sanity slipping away as they approached us. Suddenly, a door creaked open, and we saw a faint light in the distance. We stumbled towards it, our hearts racing with hope. We knew that it was our only chance for survival. As we approached the light, we could see that it was coming from a small window, barely big enough for us to crawl through. We knew that we had to act fast if we wanted to make it out alive. We crawled through the window, feeling the rough edges of the glass cutting into our skin. We tumbled onto the ground outside, gasping for breath and trembling with fear. We knew that we had to get back to town and tell everyone about the Smilers. We knew that they were real and that they were deadly. But we also knew that no one would believe us, that they would think we were crazy or that we had made it all up. We stumbled through the darkness, our hearts racing with fear. We knew that the Smilers were still out there, watching us, waiting for us to make a mistake. But we also knew that we had to keep moving, that we had to make it back to town and warn everyone about the danger that lurked in the darkness. As we stumbled through the night, we could feel the weight of our terror bearing down on us. We knew that we had survived, but we also knew that we would never be the same again. The Smilers had taken something from us, something that we could never get back. And we knew that the darkness would always be there, waiting for us to stumble back into its clutches. We stumbled out of the abandoned building, gasping for breath and trembling with fear. We knew that we had escaped the Smilers, but we also knew that they were still out there, watching us, waiting for us to make a mistake. As we made our way back to town, we could feel the weight of our terror bearing down on us. We knew that we had survived, but we also knew that we would never be the same again. The Smilers had taken something from us, something that we could never get back. The town was silent as we made our way through the streets, our hearts racing with fear. We knew that everyone was asleep, safe in their beds, but we also knew that the Smilers were out there, waiting for us. As we approached my house, I could feel my heart racing in my chest. I knew that I had to be careful, that the Smilers could be anywhere. I took a deep breath and opened the door, praying that they wouldn't be waiting for me inside. But as I stepped into the darkness, I could feel their presence all around me. I could hear the faint clicking sound of metal wires moving, and a low chuckle echoed through the hallway. And then I saw them, the Smilers. They were standing in the shadows, their grotesque appearance sending chills down my spine. Their faces were twisted into wide, toothy grins, and their eyes were forced open with taut metal wire. They were unlike anything I had ever seen before, and I knew that I was in trouble. I tried to run, but they were too fast. They caught me, their cold hands wrapping around my throat. I could feel their metal wire mouths agape, their twisted, broken faces inches from my own. I thought that I was going to die, that they were going to kill me and leave me to rot in the darkness. But then something strange happened. They started to laugh, a low, menacing chuckle that sent shivers down my spine. And then they let me go. They disappeared into the darkness, leaving me alone and trembling with fear. I knew that I had to warn everyone about the Smilers, that they were real and that they were deadly. But I also knew that no one would believe me. They would think that I was crazy or that I had made it all up. They would never believe that there were monsters lurking in the darkness, waiting to strike. As I made my way back to town, I could feel their eyes on me. I knew that they were still out there, watching me, waiting for me to make a mistake. But I also knew that I had to keep moving, that I had to warn everyone about the danger that lurked in the darkness. When I finally made it back to town, I knew that I had to tell someone. I went to the police station, hoping that they would believe me. But as soon as I told them about the Smilers, they laughed in my face. They thought that I was crazy, that I had made it all up. They didn't believe that there were monsters lurking in the darkness, waiting to strike. They didn't believe that we were in danger, that we needed to be protected. I knew that I was on my own. I knew that I had to find a way to protect myself and the people that I loved. And I knew that the Smilers were still out there, watching me, waiting for me to make a mistake. After being laughed out of the police station, I knew that I was on my own. I couldn't rely on anyone else to protect me or my loved ones from the Smilers. I had to take matters into my own hands. I began researching the history of the abandoned building, trying to find any clues or leads that would help me understand what was happening. I spent hours poring over old documents and news articles, searching for any information that could shed light on the mystery. And then I found a mention of a group of cultists that had used the building for their rituals in the 1800s. The cultists had worshipped a deity known as the Smiler, and they had performed unspeakable acts in his name. I knew that I was onto something. The cultists had left behind a trail of clues, and I was determined to follow it. I gathered a group of like-minded individuals, and together we set out to investigate. We explored the abandoned building, searching for any evidence of the cultists' activities. We found strange symbols etched into the walls, and we uncovered a hidden room that was filled with old artifacts and relics. As we dug deeper, we began to realize that the Smilers were not just a figment of our imagination. They were real, and they had been unleashed upon our town by the cultists. We knew that we had to stop them. We gathered weapons and supplies, preparing for a showdown with the Smilers. We were determined to put an end to their reign of terror, no matter what the cost. As we made our way through the town, we could feel their presence all around us. We could hear their laughter, a low, menacing chuckle that sent shivers down our spines. We knew that we were in for a fight, and we were ready for it. We finally came face to face with the Smilers in the town square. They stood there, their twisted, broken faces aglow in the moonlight. Their metal wire mouths were agape, their teeth glinting in the darkness. We charged at them, determined to take them down. We swung our weapons, striking them with all our might. But they were too fast, too strong. They dodged our attacks with ease, their laughter echoing through the night. We knew that we were outmatched, but we refused to give up. We fought with all our might, determined to protect our town from the darkness that threatened to consume it. As the sun began to rise, the Smilers disappeared into the shadows. We knew that they would be back, that they would continue their reign of terror until someone put an end to it. But we also knew that we had made a difference. We had shown the town that the Smilers were real and that they posed a real threat. We had taken a stand against the darkness, and we had emerged victorious. We knew that there was still work to be done. We had to find a way to stop the Smilers for good. But for now, we were content to bask in the glow of our victory, knowing that we had made a difference in our town. After our confrontation with the Smilers in the town square, we knew that we had to find a way to stop them for good. We had shown the town that they were real and that they posed a real threat. But we also knew that they would be back and that we had to be prepared for their next attack. We continued to investigate the cultist's history, trying to find any clues or leads that would help us understand the Smilers' weakness. And then we found a mention of a cursed artifact that had been used by the cultists to summon the Smiler. We knew that we had to find the artifact and destroy it. It was our only hope of stopping the Smilers once and for all. We gathered our weapons and supplies, preparing for the final showdown. We knew that it would be dangerous, but we were determined to protect our town from the darkness that threatened to consume it. As we made our way through the abandoned building, we could feel the Smilers' presence all around us. We could hear their laughter, a low, menacing chuckle that sent shivers down our spines. We finally reached the room where the artifact was kept. It was a small, unassuming object, but we knew that it held the key to stopping the Smilers. We were about to destroy the artifact when the Smilers appeared. They stood there, their twisted, broken faces aglow in the darkness. Their metal wire mouths were agape, their teeth glinting in the dim light. We charged at them, determined to put an end to their reign of terror. We swung our weapons, striking them with all our might. But they were too fast, too strong. They dodged our attacks with ease, their laughter echoing through the room. We knew that we were in trouble. The Smilers were too powerful, and we were no match for them. But we refused to give up. We continued to fight, determined to protect our town from the darkness that threatened to consume it. And then something strange happened. The artifact began to glow, emitting a bright light that filled the room. The Smilers recoiled, their twisted faces contorting in pain. We knew that we had to act fast. We swung our weapons, striking the Smilers with all our might. And then, as the artifact's light grew brighter, the Smilers disappeared into the darkness. We had done it. We had stopped the Smilers once and for all. We had saved our town from the darkness that threatened to consume it. We emerged from the abandoned building, triumphant and exhausted. The town was silent, but we knew that they would soon know of our victory. As we made our way through the streets, we could feel the weight of our triumph bearing down on us. We had faced our fears and emerged victorious. We had saved our town from the darkness that threatened to consume it. But we also knew that we would never be the same again. The Smilers had taken something from us, something that we could never get back. And we knew that the darkness would always be there, waiting for us to stumble back into its clutches. But for now, we were content to bask in the glow of our victory. We had taken a stand against the darkness, and we had emerged victorious. We had saved our town, and we had saved ourselves.